Hi. Welcome. Good morning. What is it? Afternoon? Sorry. Whatever. Always people. Greetings, all 5 of you. I wanted to just do a quick go through of the motion to compel, which was filed on the 17th by appellate counsel. And some of, thank God. I was trying to make you a wrench, but I don't know how. Sorry. Hello. Hi. So I wanted to go through the motion to compel and just sort of orient us as to what's going on. I know that people have questions about it. And I also know that All Eyes has out there been doing the Lord's work, trying to track down what exactly is going on. And I don't know what that is. So I wanted to do sort of an interview with her, because I think it's important that we kind of have an idea of what is going on, because as many people may or may not have noticed, journalism ain't doing a great job right now. So I'm just waiting for All Eyes, but why don't I do this? I'm going to pull up just to orient ourselves. So the motion to correct error, there is a link in the description of this thing, of the video. And then there is a link to, the fuller picture of, it's actually All Eyes website that she's putting together all of the information. And so what we're going to do, read through, I'm just going to read straight through it. We're going to talk about what that means from the exhibit perspective. What I have found out, I just got a quote from Mr. Baldwin, and then what All Eyes has done, and we're going to talk through it because y'all deserve to have information, right? Oh, there she is. Hold on a second. I gotta get myself together. Hello, everybody. Oh, there she is. So I'm going to bring her on, and then actually this is what I'm going to do first. Please stand by. Boop. So this is our motion to compel that we're going to be going through. Hey, girl.
Hey.
Hi. Can everybody hear us? I don't know. They can or they can't. I wish them the best of luck. So I don't know if you heard what I said, but I'm just going to go through. I'm going to have to put my little earphones on because it's getting to be siren o'clock around here. I want to make. Can everybody still hear All Eyes?
Sorry, I'm trying to go close doors. I was muted while I closed them, but I'm good now.
Okay, so you can hear All Eyes. Okay. So I wanted to run through this first, and then we'll talk about what we found out. So again, motion to compel was filed by appellate counsel, and that's an important distinction. The appellate counsel, not defense trial counsel, they're no longer involved. Okay. Verified motion to compel transmission of exhibits and new due date. Comes now appellant Richard Allen by counsel Mark Lehman and Stacy Uliana, and hereby respectfully request this court to issue an order to the Carroll County Clerk's Office to transmit evidence submitted with the following 2 motions. Motion for Frank's hearing on 9/18/2023, and 2, motion to correct error on 1/20/2025. In support of motion, Allen states following. So, I mean, we know what this is. So he goes through the state charges Allen with 2 counts of murder. On August 18th, Allen filed a motion for Frank's hearing, seeking to suppress evidence obtained pursuant to search of his home. Allen submitted several exhibits in support of that motion, including 126 documents and media exhibits and 7 depositions, which were tendered to the trial court in binders. That is true. These exhibits were depositions were filed in a list that Alan attached to this motion. The list is attached to the motion to compel in attachment 1. November 11, 2024, following a jury trial, he was found guilty on 2 counts of murder. Court entered a sentence of 130 years, January 2024. Motion to correct errors. Alan filed a motion to correct errors. I think people remember that. Just a note here, people remember that as sort of the, it's something in Indiana law that allows you to go back and say, hey, we need to make sure that this, and this is captured in for the record for appeal. And so that was filed. A notice of completion of transcripts. Okay, so sorry. Motion to correct errors. The court denied the motion without a hearing. What? Sorry. On February 24th, February 14th, 2025. Notice of completion of transcripts was filed on July 7, 2025. The exhibits identified in attachment 1 and the flash drives identified in attachment 2 were not included in the transcripts filed with the trial court. 9. Alan cannot adequately file a brief without review of these exhibits. 10. Alan requests that he be given 30 days from the date on which the docket shows these exhibits are received by the clerk's office in which to file his brief of appellant. Respectfully submitted, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now, let's talk about what, okay, duly noted. So what does this mean? This means that, so again, the appeals count. Now, I want to make sure that we're grounded in what conversation I want to have today. I don't want to have a conversation about lawyers here, defense lawyers. I want to have a conversation about what the state is required to do or have done. Okay. I want to try to understand that from what All Eyes has been trying to gather from Carroll County over the last 24 hours. And I want to understand and talk about what it means that these two very salient exhibits are actually seemingly not in the trial record, and what that means and where we go from here. So I know that All Eyes, what do you think? Where do you want to start? Because this is because I know that here's what I know is that you had, after this came out, you of course sprung into action as you always do, and reached out to the clerk of Carroll County and had a back and forth with her about these exhibits. Do you think that that's a good place for us to start our sort of conversation, or do you want
Probably
to?
so.
Okay.
The only thing about that is, I actually already, like, there was a pre-existing conversation about this.
So
It wasn't
I'm putting
until
this up on the screen. So I'm
okay,
putting
yeah.
it up. So this is,
I think I just started it. I think okay, if that's where it starts, I've left out page 1. Page 1 is what I was about to say, actually.
okay. So let me just say what this is. So what this is the email interactions that All Eyes has had with Sharon at the Carroll County clerk. And so go ahead.
After the last round of people getting their flash drives and exhibits, I started a new spreadsheet to kind of make it very easy to tell which ones were prohibited because they were sealed, whether it was a medical record or autopsy or crime scene photo. I gave them a little icon where those don't even apply. And then I put an X by the ones that have still not been released and a check mark by the ones that we all have, like compiled from all of the different people who got flash drives from the court and published them. So all of the known ones are in my folder. They're on my pages on the GitHub. Anybody, all you have to do is go to it and you can either view it, download it, access it. It's one click away for anybody who wants it. But
Yeah,
the
it's
way
in the description too. So it's in the description of this video.
updated it though. The new list that I put up after we got the transcripts, I went through the transcripts in their entirety for trial. and went through every single day. I marked what exhibits were admitted, offered, published, whose testimony it was published, or, like they were, some were offered on a day, but not fully admitted and published until another day.
Mhm.
Anyway, I did all of that so that I could figure out what we still don't have. And so then I
Mhm.
made a new spreadsheet with the exhibits that we still have not seen and have not been released. And I sent that to the court a few weeks ago, actually. I started following up then. And it's been a lot of back and forth because there's been discussions of trying to figure out, okay, should we do the PDFs that can be emailed first to just
Mhm.
lessen what is left after that? And then figure out how do we get someone in person to go obtain it in person, kind of thing. Anyway, but then after this filing came, like that was already in
So let's,
progress. But when this
okay.
when this filing came, I followed up on that more specifically.
Okay.
And
So
that's
I
when I
just want,
started getting some movement.
so I'm looking at the screen now. So you started, so it looks like this started, you said a couple weeks ago. So around Friday the 5th of
I
September
think
is
it was
what this,
September 4th.
yeah. Okay. So that's the first email. So this is just an email that All Eyes provided with redactions that she's been having ongoing. And so that was received. She let you know that that she had received your request, which you just explained were what we have, what we don't have, etc. So that's where this starts. So, and then you have a back and forth that I think is, helpful, and just kind of keeping in touch, hang tight until you're able to get to it. You've had a pretty decent working relationship as far as getting things from the clerk, it
Correct. And the
seems.
only issue with this exchange is I don't know why it wasn't included in this because I just did the print all selection. Like I went into my email chain and just
Yeah.
tried to print them all. But somewhere
Hmm.
in there was a separate email sent that was going to be out of the office email. I have
Okay.
that too. But that's part of the disruption in there is I didn't see that one of them, because I sent an email and she responded and then I followed up. It felt like the next day, but it must have been the same day because of the date. Then I
Hmm.
got an email that so in my mind, I was giving her time to
Sure.
respond because it was a massive request.
Yeah.
And then when I went back to follow up, I saw that I had an email where she'd been out of the office. So I followed up on that saying, hey, I just
Mhm.
wanted to make sure that the email, that you saw my last email that bounced back. But also
Mhm.
in between here, some of the gap is I have made some phone calls as well, because sometimes that's easier to clarify something quickly. So
Okay.
yes, but yeah, it has been a pretty extensive ongoing off and on trying to follow up. And then when the new filing hit, that kind of added a different layer to everything going on as well.
And yeah, and I think that everybody who will stumble across this video will know how you've put together. I mean, there's been a lot of people that have done this over,
Oh, there's a lot of us, and we're all kind of almost like it's almost like a baton thing for track,
yeah.
like
Mhm.
there's like, it's not necessarily coordinated, but sometimes if there's a lull, we'll be like, I'm gonna see what the last update was with them on their thing. And we have like a kind of group where we just try to at least touch base with each other. But there's quite a few of us who are
Yeah.
constantly trying to follow up on stuff.
Absolutely. And I mean, like sleuthy and criminality and all the people that I don't even know. But we're going to focus on this today
Yeah.
because you have had conversations. And I actually was able to, I'll just get this out of the way here. I asked Mr. Baldwin about this. Let me just pull it up because I was like, huh? Um, what? And he told me about this new filing. He said, ba, 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 um, forcing appellate lawyers. I'm wondering, okay, I asked him about the exhibits. Um, Judge, uh, Judge Gold has those binders. Did not send those binders. I hand delivered them. So he just said that he hand delivered them. And so, let me put this up. All Eyes actually, so that's again, so
Hmm.
to be clear, Mr. Baldwin said to me yesterday when I asked him, or whatever day it was, hey, what's the scoop here? And he's like, no, I hand delivered those. And I mentioned that to All Eyes, and of course, it's like, oh yeah, there's evidence of that. So I'm pulling up now, All Eyes, which you have both your eyes back, right?
I For the technically, yes, but you know, like I still am pretty heavily reliant on screen readers because they tire very quickly. Like pictures,
Girl.
good luck. Like if you want me to look at a
Right.
picture of something, I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot help you. But if
Not my
it's
Huckleberry.
yeah,
Um,
like yeah,
okay, so I'm good. Okay, so I'm pulling at what you just sent me was a JPEG was delayed beyond the time limitation set forth in trial rule 5 3.1. You know that screenshot, right? That you just
yes. I
okay,
also added that to the other folder. Like I just created a
okay,
shortcut for the full filing if you need it.
okay. I mean, I think that does it? Where is it? Which page is it that he's like, hey, I went and sat in the office.
Well, the thing I sent you right after the screenshot, I was like, oh, I found it. It's not that he hand delivered the Franks. That was the recipe for determination.
Okay,
But the content, the rest of the email kind of gets into the reason they filed that. That he also that was the thing I was thinking of from Criminality Stream, where she's like, oh my
hmm
gosh, he just like went up there and like waited for them to like show up so he could give this to them. That was what I was thinking of initially. I couldn't remember what it was for. It is from this, but this filing is also about the Franks 3 and 4. They
right,
were, they had filed those after she denied the first ones, but they were requesting that there be copies of the CCS. Like it was kind of them following up on the things that he had that we now know he hand delivered to them, the binders and all
right.
of that. He was
hmm
trying to make sure because it was at a point where things on the record were not being reflected in the same sense that when Kara filed the OA
hmm
about the CCS, it was filed in July, but it was still trying to address the things that happened as far back as September and October of the year
hmm
before.
hmm
Because when, the Supreme Court did not hold oral arguments on this one, they just did it, but they dismissed it after Gold only cured 20% of the
Right,
errors. And
right,
so defense got stuck with, okay, as soon as they're reappointed, they're having to like figure out
right,
how to thread this needle without angering her, even though
right, right.
that's because she's clearly, anyway, that's a whole other issue, but still, like
Yep,
that is the
yep.
context. That's the context of this filing. It's
hmm
related to the Franks 1 and 2, in addition to the 3 and 4 Franks,
hmm
because the first and second were not actually remedied, even though she
Right.
denied it. It's kind of the
Yeah.
context. It's still messy. We still have, there's still answers that we need. Like, not all the
hmm
questions have been answered, but that is my understanding of why he hand delivered all of this stuff, because it was at a
Yes.
point where we've filed this, and a couple of months prior to this, there was the back and forth with Gull and Rosie about DocsPop, and they weren't filing stuff correctly. And she put in her order. I even sent them the thing on how to file this. Well, when they tried to do that and they tried to sign in following her instructions, it said, actually, this is for court personnel, not for attorneys. And that kind of
Yeah.
accidentally outed herself as not knowing what she's talking about, blaming the
What?
defense for something
Right.
that they didn't
What?
do. They,
No.
yes, they did in fact file it the way they were supposed to. Her
Right.
court staff is the one who did not. So
Mm.
there's like all of this. That's what's frustrating about all of this, is because you can't ever just talk about one thing at a time. It is actually every one thing is compounded by other
Well,
stuff.
and
And
I
so
think that,
we got to separate it out, but that's where I'm at.
well, yeah, totally. And I think that too, that's why I think that this motion to compel by the appellate counsel sort of is, to me, and to people that have been following this, is sort of like, of course they don't have, of course the
Right.
court hasn't sent this over.
Right.
So it seems like, sort of to your point, it's like there's so much there, but it sort of culminated in, okay, of course, these aren't here. Um, so I think in that way, it really provides a microcosm into how did we get to this point in the appellate process, that there still is this missing sort of void. And that goes along with, and you and I have spoken about this, and I've spoken about this before, is that there are documents that are sealed, there's things that are filed under sealed, but this is a public trial.
Yes.
These things need to be have sunlight, and there seems to be some very specific issues in this case that keep getting cast in the shadow.
Hmm.
So when you found out about this filing from Mr. Lehman, or Attorney Lehman, what did you then do? Because I pulled back up your email to Carroll County Clerk on September 17th. It looks like
Well, I had
you're,
that morning, I had already followed back up when I saw, because it was about time for me to follow up anyway.
Mhm,
Before I knew about the filing, I had followed up with her about like the previous conversation that we had already been having. And
mhm,
then after the filing, I got I believe is when I got the response from her, was after that. And so then I started kind of switching gears to be a little bit more specific,
mhm,
to start seeing if I could get her to communicate what it was she was looking through to
mhm.
provide these answers to me. Like, are you looking through binders? Are you looking on your computer? Are you looking through a box of things that was mailed to
Right.
you? Like, I wanted to have oh my goodness, the landscaper. Hang on, let me go and
No,
Lord.
I'm gonna read your email to her. So go
Okay.
ahead.
Um,
So yeah, go ahead and deal.
I'm gonna switch rooms.
So
I'll be RB.
yeah, that's okay. So what we're looking at on the screen, just to sort of recap, is that All Eyes has had an ongoing communication with Sharon at Carroll County, who's been, um, trying to be as helpful as possible to in this particular situation. When the filing came out, All Eyes reached out then to follow up with the clerk, Carroll County clerk. Okay, not Allen County. So this is Carroll County, where all of the it's my understanding, and Michael's in the chat and can correct me if I'm wrong. It's my understanding that under local rule or some sort of whatever, um, after Allen County, Jody Williams was done with it, she returned all of everything must then be returned to the county, Carroll County, and be kept. I think that that's right. So, which is why it necessitates reaching out to the appropriate clerk. But as we know, in this case, it's been hairy to say the least. So All Eyes then reached out. It looks like the night of, or maybe no, sorry, 17th. So she writes to Carroll County Clerk, good afternoon. Just wanted to touch base to make sure you saw my email clarifying that I wasn't trying to request all of the remaining exhibits at once, just trying to give you a heads up on what I plan to request based on what exhibits still haven't been released. In case that email was the one I sent on the day that you were out of the office, please let me know how to proceed. She replies on the 18th. Thursday, the 18th of September. I do not see where any other exhibits have been released except for the ones that are included in the appeal. They are not requesting those, correct? You are only interested in the ones that have yet to be released. Please clarify so I ensure I'm giving you the requested information timely. Thank you. Okay, so then what? So now we're up to you replied back to her then on the 18th with your exhibit requests.
Well, I had already sent those to her. I was
Yeah.
having a hard time understanding what exactly she was confused about because my lists were very clear.
Right.
And so, like, there's a few back exchanges. And then once I realized what she was confused about, I continued to pretend not to understand that she had just confirmed that she doesn't have them because I was trying to get a little bit more information because I couldn't tell if she really didn't have them or what all she had even looked
Mm,
at to see. And I did
mhm,
eventually get some more information about that. But the next couple of exchanges, I I kind of thought they were odd because I couldn't understand why she was asking
okay,
me what she was asking. Because when you look
mhm,
at my list, at least in my mind, my lists were very clear about what specifically I was requesting.
mhm, mhm. So, okay, so this is you were sort of, if I'm reading uh this correctly, is that you were starting to ask about the exhibits that were missing based on the filing by the appellate counsel without saying, hey, the
Mhm.
appellate counsel hasn't gotten this. So you were kind of
Well, I
circling.
didn't have a clue what they did or didn't have when I
Mhm,
first initially started emailing her. And then after the filing, I kind of had an idea, obviously, that they at least
Mhm.
didn't have certain things. But the next email that I send that's a little longer kind of explains.
Wait, hang on a second. We got a Michael in the chat. We've got a Michael in the chat. He's saying that Jody keeps
y-
everything.
yes, and I actually include that in my email to her
Okay.
and explained why I was asking her specifically as opposed to Jody and or the appellate clerk, which I actually did. I was
Okay.
reaching out to them prior to this, and I explained that to her in the reasoning for why I was now requesting them from her.
Okay. I'm
And
trying to see where this is.
I
But I
think
haven't
you
looked
just
at
scrolled
this.
past it.
Okay. Uh,
I think go down a little.
okay.
Um,
Copy the exhibits. Okay, I believe I understand what documents you're requesting. Requesting only those that do not have a published date listed, correct? If that's the case, as of today, I do not see where those documents have been provided in order to be released. Then you go on and tell me when to stop. I am
that's the one
request.
where this one right here is where I was pretending not to understand what she just said to me. I just kind of
Oh,
skipped right past it and proceeded to explain to her, okay, well, these other people, I was trying to indicate they don't have them either. So if you don't, how does appellate counsel? But that's what
right.
this next, but that's, I do explain like who's supposed to have them according to local rules. So why is this not lining up with local rules and what you're telling me? But that's, yeah, it's
Okay,
in
I
this next
see.
one.
Okay, so that's where your reply, which is chef's kiss on the playing dumb. Oh wait, I think what you said just now sank in. Sorry. Just to clarify, are you saying your office, and so this is all eyes to Carroll County. Are you saying your office doesn't even have the remaining exhibits I'm requesting? I initially requested the remaining exhibits from Miss Williams as local rules made her the custodian due to there being, okay, got it, a special judge. But after completion of the clerk's record was filed, I was instructed to request the remaining exhibits from the clerk instead of the special judge's court reporter. I inquired with the appellate clerk after that just to double check, but I was also instructed by that office to submit my request for the remaining non-confidential trial exhibits to the Carroll County clerk. But if your office isn't in possession of them either, do you happen to know which office, court, clerk, basically whoever does have them, and or which one should I be submitting my request to? And this is the one that strikes me. This is
Me
from
too.
this is the one that comes back from Sharon, right? Carroll County. She said, I should bold, italic, underline, have those exhibits. However, I do not see those particular exhibits being requested in the documents, flash drives, or supplemental binders I received from Ms. Williams. I will look again through the documents to verify, though. I will try to work on this tomorrow or the first of next week. Thank you for the clarification. Sounds good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And
The
then I
reason
will
that
be out
struck
of the
me so
office.
much. Oh, sorry. I
Okay,
forgot there was
that's
more.
no.
I was just
That
going to
was
say
it.
the reason that last email struck me so much is
Yeah.
because in January of 2025, Sleuthy was in a back and forth with Sharon
Hmm.
and Jody. Like she was trying to request all of the non-confidential exhibits from the Carroll County clerk.
Hmm.
And she ran into, as far as I can tell, it's a similar, like what's happened, like what I've been told. I believe it's the same thing that Sleuthy was being told because she made a post on Twitter updating everybody,
Hmm.
and her impression was, did they lose them? And so she ended up replying to Sharon, and she was like, "Are you like if you don't have them, and Jody's saying she doesn't have them, where are they?" And so Sharon
Right.
picked up the phone and started trying to find out because she's like, "I don't know if I've never had them. I obviously didn't lose them, but like, let me see if." Like I think Sharon was just trying to be like, why don't I have them? Because
Well,
until
so
Sleuthy requested them and she went to look for them, she didn't know until that point that she
right.
did not receive them either.
Well, and Michael's saying in the chat that, trial and hearing exhibits, not attachments to motion. So my question, I guess, is, okay, so we have a motion to correct error. And I understand from, I think Michael tweeted something about they have the motion to correct error stuff now or whatever. But so do they just go then into some Neverland?
Well, that's
Uh,
where I'm trying to figure out is what happens to these things afterwards. And at first, like with Sleuthie's stuff, I figured, okay, this is just a matter of trial counsel needs to send them to appellate counsel. Because if it's not the court's responsibility or the clerk's, then appellate counsel can just call trial
right.
and say, hey, can you send me these so that we can review and see what this was about? But the ones I requested, I'm having the same issue that occurred with these motions, but these are trial exhibits. They were not
Yeah.
just attached to a motion. They were
Hmm.
offered, admitted, and or published at
Hmm.
trial. They are
Hmm.
public. They were not submitted as confidential or requested to be sealed after trial either. The list I gave was very specific, and I went through the transcript day by day to document
Hmm.
every one that was offered, admitted, and or published. I
Hmm.
used the verbatim language from the transcript describing each one of the exhibits, and then I went through and marked which ones we have, which ones we don't have, and then which ones are off limits regardless. Like
Okay, so
they're
Michael, I just put up something on the screen is that they should be part of the clerk's record,
mm-hmm.
the papers filed in this case. So that clerk is Carroll County, and she got her stuff from Jody
She
upon
said that she
completion.
looked through her documents,
Hmm.
flash drives, and binders that Jody sent. She looked through all of them for the ones I requested, and the ones that I requested were from the transcripts as
Right.
being offered, admitted, published. And she is saying that when she went to look for them in all of the various mediums that Jody sent them to her in, they are not there. She does not have them either.
Um, hmm. But we know, so here's what we know now is that these were attached to a motion that they should be in existence because they were entered in court, and Mr. Baldwin walked them over to the court himself at the
Yes.
completion of trial. So we know that. We know that at some point there should be
Oh, wait, I don't know
now.
about completion of trial. If you're talking about the July thing, that was prior.
Yeah, well, but I'm saying that it's existing in the record.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
Sorry.
So I guess that's the thing. Is like the record. The record is the record is the record, right? So that's my thing. There is no, and I might be spitballing here, but there is only one record. What is in that record is everything that's been filed by either counsel, including exhibits, motions, etc. The only thing is that some may be closed to the public or sealed for certain reasons. But that is the one record to rule them all. There isn't a public facing one and a private facing one. There is a public record with appropriate sealing, etc., but that should at least be noted in the record.
Well, I mean,
Um,
the other motions and their exhibits seemed to have made their way just fine. Like those are not the only two motions that she denied without a hearing. So
yes.
that's what's confusing to me. Like, there's definitely the correspondence I've had in the past 24 hours specifically about trial exhibits. That's one thing, but the
Hmm.
thing that Sleuthie has been on top of since she started.
January, yeah.
Yeah, well, she was on top of it even prior to that, but she just her first she
I
posted
mean,
the
last
update.
year, yeah.
Yeah, she posted the update to her ongoing efforts in January. This had been going on actually for quite some time.
Hmm.
Um, but yes, it's confusing because in some cases, Jody is the custodian of exhibits from the hearings and from trial. But when it comes to motions, it's not as clear because even if you look at the local rules on who's supposed to be, that doesn't
Hmm.
really match up with what ended up happening in practice with the other motions that had exhibits attached.
Right. And so that's, I think that, and so this is the problem to me again with transparency, right? I mean, this thing was tried in the dark. Yes, it was public in name only, but this is, you know,
I mean,
I,
defendants don't just have a right to a public trial, like it's like a 14th Amendment issue. And then on top of the 14th Amendment, there's also the due process clause about their right to a public trial. Like this is not just the public wanting information. This is
right.
something a defendant has a right to. We never saw him during trial. There was like 12 people that were allowed in to inspect this, and even, or sorry, 12 journalists or media or whatever goal arbitrarily credentialed specific people, and only a small group of them were allowed to even like get a glimpse of these things, and even then only
Mhm.
for 15 minutes, and
Right.
they weren't really allowed to do anything other than take notes. So that's not really, in my opinion, I don't feel like that was sufficient or appropriate. Even like it was just unnecessarily ridiculous and
Right.
restrictive to no one's
Right.
benefit. And so it's just, but like when it
Well,
comes
but
to
is it
the,
to no one's benefit though? See, this is where I
well, I
would push
meant
back and
no
make
one's
my
benefit who it's
opinion. Right.
supposed to be. Like it was to great benefit of the state,
Right.
but
Right.
like the benefit who it's supposed to be for, no.
So, and that's the thing too here. When you and I spoke a little bit about this particular filing, it's like, we can say all we want about defense counsel or whatever did this and that, but this is on, this is on the state because it looks like it was properly entered. So I don't know how this falls on the shoulders. So, okay, let me put it
Yeah,
this
I'm
way.
of the position
Even,
of there's plenty of legitimate criticisms to be made of defense, and we can always do a postmortem. But I feel like until it's over, I'm just like waiting, like for in the meantime, like they are not the ones taking people's life, liberty, all of that away. They are not the ones who are wielding any power. So, like, yeah, there might be plenty of legitimate criticism somewhere in there for defense, but right now my focus is who's the custodian? What do the local rules say? What are the people literally in a seat of power to
Mhm.
conduct this business on our behalf? Like, what's going on with them? That's just where my head is at.
Right. No, absolutely. And Michael, I would just like to say thank you for your input, and I'm taking it off the screen now. We know it's not a stadium situation, but thank you for your input. Um, Michael, yeah, I love you. So, I think that, so that's why I'm trying to, because there's always going to be people in this case and in any case where the state is controlling the narrative that, well, the defense didn't do this, well, the defense didn't do that. You know, when this is going back before he was convicted. Well, the defense didn't have to do anything, and I think people forget that
Yeah,
the
you don't even
defense.
have to put on a defense if you don't
Yeah,
want
and
to,
and the thing is that and so this is
because it is
about
entirely the defendant's choice. They don't have to at all. And if they do want to, it is their choice what they put on. Like, it is
well, what do
their,
you and so
yeah.
what is your feeling about what I want to go back to what Sharon told you. So the
Yeah.
underline, the I should have. What did you
Yeah.
read that as?
I
I mean,
read
just
that
you.
as the same way I read that email that we got from Rosie Palfy, where one of the clerks informed
Oh,
Rosie that, anybody who wants to request this thing can pound sand. And, she followed up with like, wow, I can't believe he said that. Like, I do think I would be surprised if these clerks are not at least experiencing some level of frustration because Nick is preventing other agencies from doing their job. Even if the clerks have a personal opinion about this, they still want to complete their duties. And
right.
public requests are part of that. And it's probably got to be a great source of frustration, if not anger, that
Well,
even if they don't want to, even if they're annoyed by these requests, they still, their job is to like do their local duties. And the things that we are requesting are part of that. And they do actually like doing their job. Sharon ran
mhm.
for office to do this job.
I was going to
And
say, and so that's
she's
part of
having
it.
one, yeah, she has one instance after another where people are requesting stuff. She goes to get it thinking that is probably part of the thing they sent over. Because I doubt she's got time to, every time Jody sends something, to go through tens of thousands of pages and out, like I don't think that would be part of her job. I think her just making sure she records when she received it and logging it in, that's one thing. But if you're logging in 6 binders, 20 flash drives, and um, 8,000 pages of documents, you're not actually going through to see, is this exhibit 1 through
Right.
10? And then these are exhibits 12 through 14. You're not really doing that. You're just cataloging the actual formats that were sent to you. And that's kind of
Right.
actually my concern with appellate counsel. Have they actually gone through each hard drive or flash drive or binder
Oh
or all
Lord.
these things
Oh
Sharon
Lord.
is saying to
Hmm.
actually make sure all of the exhibits in between, like, because defense has A through triple T, state has
Yeah.
1 through, I think it's 320. And if
Well,
they're not actually documenting each one and whether it's in a binder versus a flash drive, they might not know yet either, the same way Sharon didn't until yesterday, that they don't have all of them.
right. Well, because because you trust that, and
Yes.
this is the thing, that you trust that the system, right, is supposed to work, and that the people that are custodians of records, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, like she would have no reason to think, oh, Jody sent me something incomplete. She would just assume it's all there and just document
So
how many binders and how many whatever without sifting through it to check Jody's work. But I always check Jody's work because that's one of the few things that gives me any sort of comfort in this is to go through and figure out what's what.
well, okay, so Chelsea is saying that Sharon has sued the county before when they put her in a bad position. I don't know anything
Hmm.
about that.
Yeah, I
What is
forgot
that
about
about?
that. Um, Kind of. I mean, like what she's saying, when they put her in a bad position, like that's what frustrates me too. And I think that is why she is as helpful as she can be because this, I don't know what her personal opinion on this case is, but like I
It
have
doesn't
no clue.
matter.
I
Yeah,
know
right.
that's my point. She conducts her business as if it doesn't matter because she knows that she's an adult. She seems like a very straightforward person. I've never had any questions about her because she's just straightforward. She's prompt. She doesn't like
Mhm.
leave me. She's never left me hanging or made me feel like I was bothering her or asking a dumb question. She's been nothing but helpful and straightforward. But there's been numerous times where she had to come back and tell me something that me and her both knew through her emails of discussing how this works, even with the Maxwell search warrant. I was trying to get a copy of
Mhm.
it. She couldn't even tell me what rule the judge had sealed it under because she didn't even have access to that. She's supposed to. So she is being put in a position constantly where she would very much like to inform the person what her job is to inform them of and provide them what they're requesting in accordance with the law, but the county officials are not giving her what she needs to do her job. This is not just this case. Like I forgot, I need to pull up that lawsuit. I'll look it up in a little
I'm
bit.
looking it up. I mean, I'm trying to
Okay.
look it up right now.
I saw Angie. I can't join chat. Every time I try to join it to sign in, it doesn't let me. But hi, Angie. I saw her too. But we were
um,
talking while I don't know if she already hopped out, but if she's still in here, hello.
let's see. Carroll County campaign, was it
Hang on.
campaign
Trial junkie.
law?
Are there new documents today or are you talking about yesterday?
Uh,
I'm just making sure there wasn't a new one today that we missed because we might have been doing all this other stuff if something else dropped.
oh, I see.
I'm just seeing if she knows if it's today or we'll probably find it. Chelsea, I'm on mobile right now, so I can't get to all my screens, but I know which one she's talking about. And I almost want to characterize it, but because I'm not certain, I don't want to mischaracterize it. Let me see.
So the list of
Oh,
trial
yeah.
exhibits missing is here.
The list or the actual exhibits? Because we have the list, we just don't
Yeah, we
have the
do have
actual
the list,
exhibits.
right? Um, I just read through the filing. I didn't put the whole list up. Um, is that what you're talking about?
I'm going to pull up my laptop so I can look just to see.
Um, she was the one who sued the judge because she gave the bond back to the defendant and not the mom who paid the bond. Yeah, I mean, God, and the thing is that this is she is an elected official, and that is important, right? Because you run for an office, I guess, because you want to do a job. If your job is predicated on serving the people, um, we can argue about whether or not that's a good idea to have clerks run for office or not, but it's what it is right now. Um, if she's getting pushback from her community about how things are being handled or whatever the case may be, that that does matter. And as a public official, um, she is accountable. And I think that's probably part of the reason why she's being, so forthcoming
Oh,
or
I
helpful.
see. There's an
Mhm.
attachment. It says it's on the docket now. It
Okay.
says there's the motion to compel, and then there's an attachment one, list of missing exhibits,
Yeah.
attachment two, the letter. I haven't seen
I think I have
those.
that actually. Sorry. Woo! I'm sorry.
Oh
I think
yeah.
I actually have those.
Um, Please find our
Yeah.
envelope containing flash drives of evidence referred in our motion to correct errors that was filed. It looks like Baldwin just sent.
Oh,
Well, actually, no, this is from, he did this in the motion to correct error. Like he already
yes. Yeah.
filed like photocopies of the actual flash drives.
Let
I don't
me
know if he just,
find.
I don't know if he resent it or if this is from, no, it says from January. Sorry, I'm waiting for
Okay.
it to load. I'm looking at it
Okay.
in real time. Very sorry. Let me see.
No, I'm
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to find it.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
just the Frank's list exhibits list, which we already had, but that's why it's weird that it wasn't like if we have it, why wasn't it sent to appellate counsel?
is that can I access that on the
I just
website?
no, I just pulled it up on the docket.
Okay. I'm just trying to
It's
do it so I can bring it on
it's on
screen.
the appellate docket. It's not none of this is on the trial
Sure.
docket right now.
Okay.
It's all like
Yeah,
the actual motion and the two attachments. You can click it and see it right there. I'll add it to my thing after we do this. I probably cannot do my GitHub and this in real time at the same time, but I'll do it after this.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
it is
don't
on the
have
docket.
I don't have my case number in front of me. Does anybody want to shout it out?
It is case number is
Yeah,
25A
25 A.
dash
Okay.
yeah, 25A is an apple
Mm-hmm.
dash
Dash.
CR
Okay. Mm-hmm.
dash 00591.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Here we go. Thank you. So let's see. Okay. Okay. Got it. All right. Let's take a look. I mean,
So
that's
it
the
looks
motion to
like the
go.
appellate counsel, they attached copies of
Okay.
what defense did submit, as in, like, we know they submitted it, so why
Right.
don't we have, so can you please compel those exhibits? Because they were clearly, that's the way I'm taking it, just by looking at when I open them up, because those are two things that all of us already have. Both of these
Oh, I see.
attachments already exist on
Yep.
my GitHub. I haven't made note of the attachments
Right.
on my docket, but like both of these things we already have.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it looks like, I don't know if they got this from like the same way we all got it and used that as a thing to say, we know this exists because here it is,
Well,
but why don't we
yeah.
have the contents of any of these?
Well, yeah, it shows that it shows that it was filed on 9/18/2023 at 2:06 a.m. Carroll County Court. I'm assuming that is filed up in the corner there, the right-hand corner,
Hmm.
is when it was filed by the defense team. Um, so yeah, there really doesn't seem to be. See, I didn't realize there were exhibits with this. So this doesn't really seem to have any excuse for not being able to provide those. Am I reading this right? Because this
Well,
seems like a really big deal to me.
one of the questions I
Am I
have about
wrong?
it, no, one of the questions that I don't understand is, because I was trying to go back through it yesterday to figure it out. Like when defense first filed it, they filed it like they're supposed to, and the judge instructed her staff to not remove it, but hide it, like either make it
Mm-mm.
confidential or refile it. And after that happened, she then instructed defense to refile the list a certain way, which I believe they did, but I don't know what that does. I don't know what effect that has on the actual exhibits in that process, or
Mm-hmm.
like that is the
Yeah.
extent of my information about what happened, but I don't know. Because if Baldwin told you that he walked the binders over there, you
Mm-hmm.
can't really change the status of those. They're in physical form and
Right.
they're still in the same place. But I think that's why they only did that with the exhibit list, because that was the only thing filed electronically. Everything else was delivered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But
But then why, if they were delivered to to Jody's position, she would be
Right,
the one that has had them this whole time, especially if
right.
nobody else has seen them since. And goes on record saying she's reviewing them several times.
Hang on a second. I thought I had it open. Sorry, y'all. One moment, please. I thought I had this open. Let me get a switch screens. Yeah, sorry. But I'm sitting here chatting about the exhibits and I don't even have it open. Please stand by. User error.
Yeah, the last update we got from Goal in the record was October 31st during the hearing where she's, I mean, I think all four of them are there, but she's actually speaking to Scrimmin and Libredo.
Mhm.
She's telling them, you know, like, you guys can file a new one. As far as the Franks one, like, I'm still reviewing the thousands of pages and countless, I forget how many hours she said, of digital evidence from flash drives. So, like, she's detailing what all Baldwin is saying that he delivered, and she's
Mhm.
acknowledging that they're at least in her possession. I don't know if this is a Pam Bondi situation where she's like, "Oh yeah, they're on my desk," and then later pretends like they never were. Like, that's where I'm at mentally, because I'm like, is that, was she lying about actually reviewing them? Because then the next update after that, before she denies it without a hearing, is that I mean, she was very clear. I'm still not finished reviewing all of the things that she confirmed having.
Mhm.
So I'm like, I don't know what to make of it other than
Well,
I don't know if she ever finished it. And that's why she ultimately denied it, because some months passed in between there. But the case was on pause during that time. So was she reviewing stuff that was on pause? Why, if she thinks they're going to be removed after she removed them, would she be reviewing theirs? Especially since she gave the new counsel, you know, she removed Baldwin and Rozzi to replace Richard Allen's attorneys with her counsel of choice,
mhm.
and was indicating that they could file their own Franks. So that to me doesn't indicate that she would have ever even finished it before we get the denial of it. You know what I mean? Because she
Mm.
denied it after they were reinstated. Did she finish reading all that stuff and watching all the hours or not?
No,
You know,
no,
I don't
girl.
think she did either, but is she trying to say she did? But if that's the case, she would have had to have had possession of them the entire time up until January.
I'm
And then
gonna.
in March, Baldwin asks her to take judicial notice of them. And
Mhm.
she says, okay, yeah. So I would assume they're as late as March at that point, still in her possession. So for Jody to be acting like she doesn't have them, that would, instead of her referring people to the clerk, she might want to be referring people to the judge, because the judge is the last one on record saying she has them. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know if that's even a thing, but that's what I'm saying is, according to the record, whether that's a thing or not, she is the last person saying she had them. So what did she do with them after
Yeah,
that?
yeah. I mean, I put my speculation banner up because I'm going to speculate. No, she didn't read and all of the things. You know, I mean, the thing is that again, this is why this is part of being transparent and open. If your case feels safe to you, if in my opinion, if your case, Nick McClellan and Judge Gold and state of Indiana feels safe to you, like it's not in jeopardy in some way, I'm struggling to understand how in the hell this has been dragged out this long, how we're at this point,
Because
why
every
all
time defense tried to address little things, Goal would react like, her reaction was never,
that's what I'm
in my
saying.
opinion, proportionate to what they were asking. She was acting like they were doing it out of spite, as opposed to,
Right.
no, this is procedure. We have procedures for all of these things, but Goal would just disregard that, and then she would allow the state every opportunity to characterize what they're doing as some sort of tactic, as opposed to it literally being the way it's supposed to be done. And I don't know, I still don't understand how that characterization of it continued catching on, because even when defense was asking for things to be turned over in a judicially economic way, people accused them of asking, like Nick it put in a filing, he literally said that defense is asking the state to do their job for them. That is not true. And then people were characterizing Nick's statements as, oh yeah, you know, from there it turns into, well, defense is asking, like, they're asking for it to be color coded and organized for them. Like, do they need some crayons too? And I'm
Right.
like, how people can just jump to all of that when all defense was asking was for things, because this was also, mind you, around the Turco stuff. The last thing that defense had been told from the prosecutor was that we don't know if we're ever going to find this Purdue professor. And so when when audio from that interview was turned over, it was turned over at a time that defense doesn't even know they should be looking for it, because the last update they were given personally from the prosecutor, direct from him, was that they don't even know if they'll find this guy. So
Mhm.
when they put some random man's name when you're sending terabytes of data,
Yeah.
for to expect them to have known that that man out of all of these names was who they should be on the lookout, especially when they turned it over without Holman never turned over his narrative report about that interview until they were reinstated. So they were still, at this time, they were going out of their way to break up discovery. Like when you turn in a narrative report, it should all automatically be attached to the audio. Like those things should be together by default of just the way their
Girl.
software is set up. Somebody would have had to have like gone out of their way to consciously separate them and only turn over one. And that's the same thing they did with the geofence data. They turned over 18,000 of lines of data, and they didn't even submit a map until January, but they turned over the map completely separate from all of the context it belongs in. And that's how
Are
we
you
got the motion to compel and the motion to require sanctions. Like, it's a
are
mess, all of it. It's been like this since the get-go. I don't know how it's been allowed to go on, but every time defense tried to address it, they were treated as if they were the ones being ridiculous, when in reality it's ridiculous that any of this happened in the first place, in my opinion.
Do you see my banner?
Oh yeah, sorry, I do that. It's
No,
hard for me not to rant because the
girl,
like
please.
it's just like all these, and then it's kind of like when I hear totality of evidence, I'm like, okay, maybe, but when you look at that totality of evidence, okay, let's take one thing off at a time and look at them on their own. None of them, none of the individual pieces that they're calling a totality are what the state said they were. And when you take all of the things away that weren't what they said they were, no, you actually are not left over. They're always like, well, if you take one thing away, it doesn't matter because there's still a totality. Yeah, but a totality of other things that are also not what you said they were. But by the time you get to all of them, people get exhausted because the
Mhm.
state has been allowed to do these little things just over time, just like, building their little pile of bullshit that was legitimized by this judge. And so there's this huge pile. So when defense is appointed, they're already coming in. At this point, the state had 6 years when he was arrested to get their shit organized and all their ducks in a row. Defense had like a month before they're supposed to prepare for their first trial, and some sort of like the notion that they could have just like jumped in and been like on top of it. At one point, Anya Kane was
Oh,
like, well, it's defense, I think it was after the motion to correct error. She was like, well, that's kind of defense's fault for not knowing their own discovery.
ugh.
I would love for someone to send her 20 terabytes of data. And I will even throw in an army of cranks to help her sort through it. And I will give her 3 years instead of 2. And I would love to know how familiar she is with that amount of data. The notion that these people could have done this while they're also doing other cases, like I'll let her even have no other cases. She can focus on that for 2 years, and she still wouldn't know that discovery inside out in either in the span of 3 years. I get so frustrated when people act like defense should have just known about all of these things. The reason they focused on what they did had everything to do with needing to provide an answer to the state and what the state put forward. That guides ultimately, because you can't just not respond to allegations the state made. Like you have to challenge it or whatever. And so that I don't know why they would do it any other way. I mean, they were doing other things in addition to this, but in their filings, it's
Mhm.
limited to what they're answering, and that depends on what the state put forward. And people don't
Mm.
seem to understand any of this and how they're supposed to be looking for that in a hard drive full of like strings of numbers and like a Z at the end. Even when you look at Jody's hard drive, or the zip drive that Goal released from all the filings that Jody at that time was in charge of organizing, it was a mess. It took me like a few days to untangle and put into correct order and label all of those things correctly. Like I can't imagine having tens of thousands of those to do, because that was just a zip drive of 118 documents. And I'm not, like I'm pretty good at organizing some stuff. And it still took me time because it was that cluttered and disorganized. And there were a couple of repeats. And then there was some stuff that like had no indication of date or which order it went with. And it's just, it frustrates me. So like, from the perspective I'm coming from, it's from someone who has been trying to organize this so that anybody willing to take an interest in this case can dive in and get caught up. Because if you expect anybody to just jump into this case, if they don't have all of this, and even if they do, trying to sort through it, if you don't have a system in place to like navigate through it, it's a lot. I don't know how these attorneys have even gotten as far as they have, the new appellate counsel, but you add in all the stuff the state is doing to unnecessarily complicate it. And then, the defense gets the hard drive back after they're reinstated. And it's completely, I don't know if that's because it was just turned over from whatever Librato and Scrimmin reorganized for their purposes. I don't know
Mhm.
where it did, but the fact that we don't know, and the fact that the state and the judge didn't think that was an issue at all, that would interfere with anything when it obviously did, drives me crazy. But that's why I want
Mhm.
to know who's in possession of these. Even if you're going to deny the request, can you please let me know where they are? Like, that is something so basic. And when they can't even do that, I start getting real irritated.
No, come on. No. But I mean, so here's the thing that people always say, what can we do about it, right? And so what we can do about it is talk about it, expose it, but we can also, I think that at some point I get the vibe, at least, okay, so in my experience, people come forward when they are being pushed against the wall. And I'm not saying that there are county clerks in a Midwestern state that may be driven to that point, but I am kind of saying at a certain point,
Mhm.
somebody might have a moral compass to understand that it doesn't it doesn't matter, to your point, the position on the case.
Yeah.
It's that what matters here to the murder sheet of the world and the crime con of the world is that this is, trials are about victims tangentially. And I know people hate that, but they exist to determine facts of the case for the defendant, because the defendants has the right to be presumed innocent, and it is on that basis that everything has to flow from, and it
Yeah.
hasn't done that for a very long time in this country. I'm sorry.
Well, it's because most people seem to lose sight of the fact that that also is part of giving the victims justice. Like, when we
Right.
do, like, there is no peace of mind that you can give a family as a properly investigated and adjudicated case. So that way, when he is convicted and he starts filing appeals, you can say, fuck this guy. We know
You
he did
know,
it. We all know why he did it because we saw the evidence. This was done in the daylight. We all saw it. We can all point to the reasons why.
mhm,
And these families don't have to, like, even if he keeps applying for appeals,
mhm,
they don't even have
yeah.
to bat an eye or worry, because if everything was done right the first time, that is
Hmm.
to the benefit of the victims' families. And so when they
Hmm.
start cutting corners, that is at the expense. And if they think blaming it on the defense attorneys makes any difference, like, what good does that do when the effect of it is that the families are still going to be dragged through this? Even if you
Right.
blame the defense attorneys, that doesn't give them any solace just to be mad at the defense attorneys, even though that's not true. But like, even if they want to blame them, not understanding that this was actually the fault of the state, not the defense attorneys, even if they were to believe that, that does not, like, that is still contributing to the fact that they're having to just relive this every time it's relitigated. If it's done right the first time, the families don't even have to bother keeping up with it. They can just go grieve and do their best to find whatever solace they can. I doubt they ever find true solace, but the fact that we
Right.
add this on to these victims' families because law enforcement and prosecutors think that there's some sort of dirtbag school that defense attorneys go to learn to,
Right.
like, that's not how it works. But even in these murder sheet post-trial interviews, Buckley and Cicero, the things that they were saying, oh, well, this was just, the defense attorneys were just doing this. And it was
Mm-mm.
kind of like straight up propaganda about
Kinda.
misunderstandings about, like, defense attorneys, their job is not, like, they all have families too. You think they want murderers running around the street? No. Their job is not to get guilty people off the hook for doing things they're guilty of. Their job is to make sure the state has done their job, the police have done their job, and that the punishment fits the crime. Like, they are part, everybody looks at it as defense versus judge and
Right.
prosecutor, but
Right. And that's wrong.
like, as a society, we have a whole system in place to pay for counsel for people who don't have an attorney, because they are so crucial to this process of seeking justice for the victims, that they're like a co-equal part of this process. And everybody acts like there's some like outsider that comes in to look for loopholes. Their job is actually to make sure we have sealed all the loopholes before convicting somebody, not to find ones to let them slip out. Like they are actually they are just as much on our side as the prosecutor is supposed to be when it comes to representing us. And the reason we safeguard all of these is because sometimes the state does get it wrong. And also because sometimes these processes actually keep law enforcement in line, and if they
What?
do it, if they
Hold
do
people
it,
accountable? What?
yes. The thing about accountability is it's to keep them accountable to, because anybody, even if they have the best of intentions, we are all susceptible to tunnel vision and confirmation bias. So if we don't have systems in place to keep us in check, the problem is when the people that are in the position that are being put in check, if they have any sort of ego or they think this is about them, they're the worst person to be in that position. Because most people, most normal people, I guess, like all of us, like when we get new information, we don't take it personal if it doesn't confirm what we thought. What we do is we update our documents and our information, we post announcements and corrections, we adjust our perspectives and move forward with the new information, because in our minds, we're just wanting real answers. So
Right.
if something doesn't confirm what we thought, the reason we only thought what we did prior to that was based on the previous information we had. And if we get something that changes it, I don't think any of us skip a beat. We just adjust everything and proceed with the new information. But when law enforcement is presented with that, and Nicholas in these filings, their reaction to it is the strangest thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't know people in real life who operate that way. And I'm seeing that it is common in these situations, like adversarial, criminal, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lot of like, I think Anya called it brinkmanship, whatever.
Okay, okay. I gotta step in here for a minute because I swear to God, I just put Jesus Christ, girl, God damn it. Now
Right.
here's the thing. They are not journalists, they're barely attorneys, right?
Right.
So they have given us the beautiful roadmap to
Right.
crack this case. And I want to, for one, encourage Nick McClellan, Jer the Jer Bear Holman, and the Tweedles D to continue to talk. Because you know what? That's when we learn shit,
Yeah, he's
right?
been very helpful. I have
Jesus
re-reviewed the
Christ.
transcripts of all
Oh,
of their of
Lord.
like anything, like from the
Oh,
leak to all of the stuff where they were like it was not about the filing and it was all about defense. I've been reviewing all of their old transcripts and the story they were telling then, and then I started
mm,
pulling old
no,
articles where
mm,
they were giving interviews to Yahoo and
mm.
everything from
I
Yahoo
went through
to
that the
local
other
news.
day. I
I
went
know.
through that the other
I've
day.
I've been on a kick where I'm just reviewing all of their stuff because, they in
That,
before their book came out, they were very clear that they were the authoritative source
well, you know
on
what?
the behind the scenes investigation. So I'm
Okay.
going through and
Well,
looking through all their stuff and all their interviews with all of the law enforcement that was part of this case that they interviewed after
mhm.
trial, ones that we didn't even know, except for one person apparently knew who Sergeant Buckley was before the one filing he made his name in, and we never heard anything about him after until he's on Murder Sheets podcast. Like, I've been reviewing all of this and I'm like, there's so many disconnects, and I honestly don't know if defense was just trying to choose their battles because they were
Probably.
already like, I cannot imagine what it must be like having to deal with Goal, Nicholas, Mullen, like all of these dipshits. I can't imagine having to do anything serious when those are the people I am having to do my
Yeah.
job in like in conjunction with, because they are not
So
serious, they're not forthcoming.
no, and the thing is that I've put a banner on here that now declares us as authority on the Delphi case, no matter who says otherwise, because apparently that's all it takes. And
Well,
so,
I mean, when
but I
people get mad
wanted
at me,
to.
I'm like, you're just getting mad at the filings because literally everything I say and do is based on that. I have no insider information. I don't have inside sources. I don't have people reaching out to me to give me
They
like,
have one,
here's
right?
this.
They
I
have
am
one.
going strictly based on the record. And the thing is, even my shit posts have more citations than Anya and Kevin's book did.
Yeah,
That
girl.
drives me
Yes.
crazy.
Oh, I love it. I love the energy that you're bringing to this because, yes, this is why, and you and I talked about this. This is why though journalists get a bad rap because of jerks like this. They really, I mean, there's a lot of jerks out there, but man, oh man, this is a travesty, and it's supported by the state. And I pulled up a tweet that I think her name is Spooky. But
Hang on real quick. I just saw somebody asking what the recap here is because
okay.
I can't join the chat. The
What's
recap
the
here
recap?
is we're talking about the recent filing from appellate counsel to compel certain exhibits that were not in whatever they received from the clerk's record. There's some things that were not in there, and now we're going back to look at all of the other things that, as far as we can tell from the record, are also still MIA, but that's probably the shortest
Yeah.
recap I can give. And of
Yeah.
course that gets into murder sheet because they're in the middle of everything.
Because they're the authority. So, but I
Right.
did want to, but so I do want to, so I know we both have to kind of go here. So, but I did want to sort of wrap up with talking about the way that this continues to be represented by both the, the one true authority, the murder
Right.
sheet, but you see the same kind of energy brought by people in positions of power. And journalists, yeah, sure, positions of power, not really. But Nicholas McClellan, I think she goes by Spooky online, and I just pulled this up and I'm
Oh, yeah.
posting it here because she did share it publicly, and I noticed it and I thought, wow, this is coming in hot with some murder sheet energy. So I'm wondering if Nick was a ghostwriter along with Jason Blair. Give me a call, Jason. Also, Brett, you want to give me a call? Ringy ding. Okay, so here's what Nicholas replies to, and here's the thing. This is like classic deflection. Is what he's doing here in this email to a person who is inquiring very clearly, not about getting access to crime scene details, but to questioning, hey, where's this? That was actually after we were looking for, here's what it was. We were looking for the emails from Brett Talley, Alice LaCour, or anybody in the prosecutor's podcast, the email that proves that the Delphi police knew, ergo, Nick and the state knew that there was a leak because Brett Talley, who somehow is a lawyer, sent them a letter or an email saying, hey, clickety clack, here's the deal. There's some shit out here that y'all should know about. So people said, what can we do? I'm like, you can reach out to the Delphi police. You can send a FOIA request, blah, 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 blah. Find out, because emails from public between people who are on the company dime, whether it's a goddamn sanitation department or the ISP or Carroll County, all of their records are public.
Yep.
Unless they're precluded from the public, and emails, confirmation of emails is not precluded from those rules. There's nothing in it. And so Nick McClellan responds like a goddamn douchebag, because that's the only, he speaks douchebag. That's it. So
he is the only dirtbag defense attorney in this
mix. Holy shit. Aren't you?
You
are
like, he always talks about, this is what I think defense is doing. I'm like, buddy, I think we're learning a whole lot more about how you operate than anything the defense is doing. I think he is telling on himself nonstop.
But the thing is that here's the point I want to make, is that they are continuing the narrative of shaming people that want public information. And that is fucking bullshit. Nick McClellan's doing it. Anya Kane and Kevin, everybody's doing it, because they don't give a shit, because in their mind, the case is over, because goddamn if it's not, right? So he replies to a citizen who's asking is about not exhibits, but about when this email was sent, about alerting the state to this egregious leak that was the watershed moment for both Murder Sheet and the state to fully
He should have it in its own folder, because that should have been so important to him that he knew exactly where to find it, because they were so thorough about the investigation of something that months later would become massive enough to remove defense attorneys. So yeah, the notion that he's like, oh, I don't know, you might need to give me some
But he's
information. He
saying,
should have known exactly what she was talking
of
about.
course, because we know now, and we'll get into this later, but we know now that they were alerted by 2 different members of the public, Doug Carter directly, and then also the Delphi police. All right. So there are 2 instances where they were notified. But this is the point that I want to make about this email. And this is just telling. It's telling about what they think about the public that they are elected and paid to serve. He says in response, further, if you're requesting information about that case, much of the information is privileged. No, it's not. That's not the right word. Much of that information is privileged as it relates to crime scene photos. That's not privileged, it's sealed, dumbass. Those images are sealed. Yeah, okay. She wasn't asking for them. That would include any correspondence within which there are crime scene photos. Not what she asked for, you fucking twat. On a simpler note, he goes on to lecture. I am not sure why anyone would want any information that includes or involves crime scene photos. The fact that crime scene photos are even in the public is because the leak of it by the defense. Any investigation into that leak, which would include some of the documents you are requesting, would be privileged information as well. Go fuck yourself. You were aware of it. This is
Everything is supposed to have a publicly accessible version of it. You are supposed to withhold the information that under certain statutes is confidential. You are not allowed to withhold the entirety of it, the existence of it, the date of it. You are only allowed to withhold the very specific information that meets the statute. The date does not meet that statute. The existence of it doesn't meet the statute. Who was alerted doesn't meet the statute. Sources and methods, yeah. Actual investigative things, sure. The date and the most basic information, which is the only thing she was asking, is not.
Exactly. And so that's my point. But just if you listen to you know what I say? You threw out a charge to Anya. I'm gonna throw one out to Kevin, because didn't he do the audio of their book? I'm being told.
I'm not listening to that shit.
Well, shit, no. But yeah. I'm saying
I'll read the PDF. I'm not listening to it.
No. I mean, it's good for timeline and evidential.
Well, that's something I can read it. I'm not going to listen to it.
No, gross. But here's what my challenge would be to Kevin Greenlee. Kevin, I know that this will get back to you because of all your little friends. I want you to read in your Shadow of the Bridge voice this last paragraph by Nicholas McClellan, because I think it smells a hell of a lot like the way that you and Anya drafted your bullshit book. It's going to sound a hell of a lot like you. Maybe she's doing your PR now. I don't know, Nick. But the thing is that do you see the ongoing efforts to shame the public? It's bullshit. He doesn't have a goddamn moral high ground to represent that he stands on some higher ground, and that this person was asking for crime scene photos, and oh, how dare you. Nick, I'm going to respectfully ask you to go stick your foot up straight up your ass, because you are such a jerk. Jerk's not even the right word. My point is that there are people in lockstep that are continuing to push this bullshit that somehow the public, and that's what this is about. The public are not entitled to these things. Maybe the public aren't getting these things, even in their right redacted and appropriate form, because you lost them, because the state lost them, maybe. I don't know.
They didn't do anything.
This is my speculation. Look, I'm going to go back to the speculation. Speculation.
Yeah.
Maybe they aren't there. Where are they? Because the thing is, until they answer for it, there's a vacuum out here. And that's on them. There's a vacuum out here that's being left to be filled. And when people like Anya Kane and Kevin Greenlee step into that breach, what you get is absolute bullshit. You get nothing. You get a composite that is akin to what Jason Blair did when he brought the fucking New York Times into disrepute, when he involved himself in the DC sniper case to such a degree where he was lying to such a degree about such a serious case of terrorism in DC that,
Oh my gosh, what is that? Brian Williams, it's like Brian Williams-esque, like where he's like pretending
oh,
he
it's
took fire.
worse.
I
It's
know,
worse.
like
It's worse.
it's
But my point is
weird.
that my point is simply this, that there are some similar people here.
Yeah.
Jason Blair is one of them. So it's almost like they all have their composite sketches, and it's none of it is journalism. And I swear to God, it makes me crazy because it's the last goddamn bastion between us and Cheeto fascists.
Yeah. What irritates me the most is like the reaction, like their reactions to people just wanting real answers is
Uh,
so bizarre. And the fact that they twist it into this nefarious thing as if wanting real answers is nefarious. Like, I don't
right.
even understand that mindset. So when they do it, it makes me so angry because it's not productive. It's kind of gross and icky. And I feel like it tells us more about them than the people they're trying to degrade. They're always trying to degrade someone, and they don't understand that people's frustration with them and their disgust with how they've handled it and reacted to people asking very straightforward questions, as if, like, if Spooky was asking for those things, she would have used the words to ask for those, but she used words that didn't ask. Like, I don't even know how
Right,
he spun it
right.
that way.
She was,
Even in my email to Sharon, I even, because I know they do this, I even, the last paragraph of my thing was, if for any reason, because I explained, I went through the transcripts and I copy and pasted the verbatim language used in the transcripts into the spreadsheet to make sure I was accurate. I even went through to make sure that if there was any mention of victims, like, because some of the quote
yeah,
crime scene photos were taken 2 days after, like they're just landscape
yeah,
pictures.
yeah.
And so
Hmm.
but I even said, if for some reason any of the things that I've requested are actually confidential, please disregard those and feel free to let me know so that I can make note of these. Because if you go look
Yeah,
at my exhibit list, I make it very clear with a bright yellow banner, crime scene photo, medical record, autopsy, so that people, and there's also an icon. These are off limits. Don't even request them, because nobody is trying to get stuff that's off limits even. We're still at the stage of trying to get what's not confidential. And so for
hmm.
them to turn all of this into some sort of, the fact that they are making it harder than it has to be for no reason. It's like, it is completely unnecessary the way they're doing
Yeah.
it. And then when people are persistent, they treat
Hmm.
it as if it's some sort of bloodlust, when it's not, when it's really just being, it's basic due diligence. But I feel like sometimes that must be what defense felt like, because when they would try to address these things that were never actually resolved, and not only were they not resolved, there's now a filing and an order where the judge and prosecutor are mischaracterizing it entirely. When they try to
Yeah.
address it, they're treated as if they're doing some dirtbag thing, and they have to then balance it out between public perception of their client. Is this going to affect our client? Like, there's just, it opens up all of these things that you would think the state would want to eliminate all of that, especially since they're running
Mm.
around every time they're asked about the secrecy and protect. They're like, oh, well, we wanted him to have a fair trial. Well, that's interesting, because
No,
everything you
lies.
did prevented that. You can say that all day long, but if your actions and the way you proceeded do everything but that, then your words
Hmm.
don't mean shit.
Hmm. Girl, I mean, yeah, exactly. And that's why I think that this latest, so to wrap it all up, I mean, I hope people actually do. I'm gonna have to go back through and put the timestamp of when we just go off the rails, because I think, but it has its place. But we did address the very real issue of these missing exhibits, and that's how this all started. Because, like you said, it's hard to compartmentalize what has happened in this case and articulate it in a way that doesn't descend into absolute fury. And and I think that that's okay. That's another thing too. We look, taking it out of the context of Delphi, every criminal defendant in the United States, every criminal defendant, has the right to a fair trial. Every public official must be held accountable to those officials, to those who elected them. If you're getting paid by the public to do a job, you need to expect to have your job reviewed. And so when Nick acts this way, or when the state acts this way, or when there's just it's a level of government. When you want to talk about government overreach and the weaponization of victims' families against true, and this goes across it's not unique to Delphi, unfortunately, but we just happen to be in the middle of this because of this brand new filing again. And so I hope that at some point we're going to see that, oh, the appellate counsel is seeing what's happening here and they're making a record of it. This is, but again, at the end of it, it's like, I've been very straight with everybody. I fully believe Mr. Allen did not get a fair trial. I believe he was tortured, and I don't care if somebody wants to fight me, they can fight me over that. And so those two things alone necessitate him to get a new trial, in my opinion. Then I want to see what the actual evidence is. So I don't believe he got a fair trial. I don't, but all the while he has been adjudicated, and he is in prison, in Oklahoma. So that's what's at the base of this. And two little girls are never coming back, or two teens are never coming back. And so what are we doing? We're playing circle jerk here with shit that's supposed to be in the record.
And what all real quick on that note about like the girls never coming back, the thing for me that is just like, I do try to separate it, but my oldest is about the girl's age. Like there is a side of me that wants real answers for the most basic, simple fact that if for some reason I don't think they got the right guy. When they first arrested him, I assumed, like, I was surprised. I had a lot of questions, and it was a long process before I even considered that they might not have the right guy. And then it was an even longer process to the point where I was like, okay, they're straight up lying. They do not have the right guy. They closed a case they didn't solve. But I still have the strong urge to want to know what happened, because when you look at people who study violent crimes, they study it so that they can better educate everyone from law enforcement to teachers to parents to society on what to look out for and what to know and what to understand to better safeguard our kids. So if you have this horrific crime that happens and you're not telling anybody anything to better safeguard their children as a result of what you've learned from it, that to me is a problem. It's not just a red flag, it's an actual problem. They should be chomping at the bit to get all of the information they learned about this crime into fucking literature and in front of people who study this stuff. They shouldn't be hiding it.
Right.
So when they hide it, it makes me question it on one hand, but on the other hand, it just pisses me off because for those of us who do have kids, and I know people think that we're out here just defending, like, I don't know, Mr. Allen. And I'm telling you right now, if I did see evidence that he was involved, I would do a 180 without hesitation.
Hell yeah.
That's the only thing I've been asking for. But as of now, I have looked very hard and I have been very persistent trying to get answers. And I have been given nothing to indicate he was even there. Like, every sign that I have seen, according to the state's own record, not even discounting defense. If you look at just the state's record, I don't think they can even, like, he appears to have left before these girls were dropped off. So yeah, I'm going to have some questions. Yeah. And the things that they're telling me place in there later are not what they're telling me it is. When you look at the things that they're citing, that's not actually what it is. And but yeah, that is what bothers me about all of this. The reason we want this information is not just for our own curiosity or because we all just got like real interested in a case, and like, we're not following a TV show here. Most of us, in my experience, from everybody I've encountered, is not really even a true crime person. Most of us don't know anything about all the other cases. We know a little bit about the other ones that like people around us have talked about. We don't actually know anything about them. Like, most people who are following up on this, it's one of those, if you see something, say something situations. You walk up on a car wreck, you don't leave until help arrives. Like, that is the context that we are in. So when Anya and Kevin are running around, and then the state is responding to people based on it because of what they, in this caricature that they have, it's cartoonish, the way they portray us and what we're actually doing.
Well, and I think that too, my pushback on that would be, who cares if we're curious? You know, so the thing is like,
I guess that is also true. But my point is, like, it's not just that though. Even like, if you're gonna talk about people, at least get it right. Maybe there are some people who are just curious. In my experience, their curiosity is stemming from like the things I just described.
Of
Like,
course.
okay, if this is
Yeah.
a new, if people do wake up one day and break all habits of their entire life, like it's hard to start a new habit. I don't think people understand. Like you can't just
Are you
wake
kidding
up
me?
and break habits.
Look,
Like,
look,
so
I
to,
just
and the
started
thing is,
smoking. I
you
just
have,
started smoking right now. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
oh, I was about to say, that's what I mean though.
No.
Like it is, nobody does that for
Right.
no like that, like just on a physiological human, the way our brains are wired, you don't just wake up. And so then all these people are like, well, BTK was a, he had a wife and a family too. Yeah, but he wasn't happily married. He didn't have a good relationship with his daughter. Like they leave out the important things. Like his wife and daughter, like his daughter goes to educate people on this. And you can tell these
Yes.
people who are
Yeah.
using them just to win an argument don't even know what they're talking about. Like if you talk to her,
Well,
there were all these signs. There's stages of it. We don't have any of that
yeah.
here. And the fact that the state doesn't seem concerned about that is terrifying to me. Like these kids in Carroll
Well,
County are on their own.
yeah. I mean, and the thing is that, yeah, and my daughter is a grown ass woman now. So, and I still, I still worry about her. And nobody has to, I just want to say this too, nobody has to have kids or anything like that to understand what we're talking about. But I do want to put a shout out there to all the curious people. And just even if I was
Yeah,
the
I didn't mean any
creepiest,
shade to them, by the
no,
way.
because here's no.
My
And
point is
here's but
he's trying to reduce everyone to only that. Like that is actually my point of contention. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but he's acting as if that is all it is, and that
and
bothers me.
putting on your journalist hat is that what's wrong with curiosity? There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, that is exactly what a public is supposed to be. That's
Right.
our job as the public, as people that is actually the position that all of this comes from. And so I think, along with cranks, I think that people need to own the fact that they're curious, that we're looky-loos, that we are looky-loos, because that's our job as members of a community, no matter what community that is that we live in our world, whether it's in, the far-flung reaches of the shit kickers in Iowa, from where I'm from, to New York City, to wherever it is, we all need to be involved and be looky-loos. When somebody leaves a goddamn unattended backpack on a subway, you see something, you say something,
Yeah.
right? So that's the thing. And so
And I
that's
mean,
what
they
my
spent
thing,
years begging the public to give them information,
they're
and
just,
they
ugh.
literally created a whole community that was invested in making
Mhm.
sure they find the guy. And what bothers me too is if you want to instill confidence in the public, you earn that confidence by
Mhm.
providing them the things that give people confidence. What they have done is withhold those things. They're withholding information and then calling people stupid. Well, yeah, if you're gonna withhold information, you don't get to complain then that people are off base. Because if
Mhm.
you are the one controlling the information that would actually better inform them, then shut the fuck up. Like I get so irritated with that. But also, don't blame them not knowing what's going on for the lack of confidence in your investigation, when that solely rests on the people conducting the investigation. They're like, the lack of transparency lowers people's confidence, and you don't get to blame that on
Yep.
defense attorneys, because people
No.
had lost confidence in unified command and the state long before there was an arrest, let alone
Yes.
attorneys appointed, let alone before the Franks was filed. These
Yes.
questions predate all of that, and Murder Sheet comes in and tries to rewrite it as if that's where the story starts. That drives me
Uh,
crazy. And when you look at their
girl.
old interviews, even before the ambush hearing, Murder Sheet is given interviews saying things that then Goal is going in front of everybody, that, inviting cameras in to say these very things.
Mhm. Yeah. No, I know. And that's
Like it's
you and
not just
I.
Nick getting his talking
I
points
know.
from them.
Mm-mm.
Apparently the
Mm-mm.
judges too. Like that is bizarre to me.
Well, it's bizarre, and I think that it also it requires further investigation. And I do think that, there are. I think that people are starting to become aware, and I do think that this is where I would like to congratulate Anya and Kevin on their own goal, and on their actually scoring on their own goal,
They
because they
do it all the
really
time.
they
they,
I mean, they just
they
walk
don't even
around.
seem to realize it.
It's
So
like, in my mind, I just see them walking around literally kicking themselves in the crotch, Like,
the
I don't know
most
if you could.
self-important dipshits I have
No,
ever come across.
but I'm just
It's-
saying that. But I'm saying that everything that they say is to me a telegraph, and it's sort of a touchstone as to this investigation.
yeah, they're
And
definitely
you
that
know,
meme of every allegation is a confession.
right, right. But I do think that I do think that when Spooky went out and tried to actually ask for that email, and then now that we have more information, I think that people do sort of realize, there's something not right, at least with some part of this,
Hmm.
and that's okay. And also another thing too is
And
that
it shouldn't be
people,
this hard to clear it up. The fact that
no,
there's all these things that are real easy to clear up that they continue refusing to clear up, that is a red flag.
yes, no, of course, and that's the thing is that the thing is that I would also like to say that I do think people can, I don't have a problem with people who believe that Mr. Allen is guilty if they're willing to have a conversation about it. What I do have I don't, I would say, suggest that they're wrong just on the fact that he didn't get, from the lack of due process from the time he was arrested. But, but it's the people who, much like Kevin and Anya, the other day she was talking and somebody sent me like a link to it and I watched the end of it and somebody actually asked her in an interview about, well, now what do you think now that that Richard Allen's been moved to Oklahoma? And before the woman even got her words out of her mouth, she said, oh, I don't even care about him anymore. But that's the attitude. They don't care about it anymore because they know, they to me it telegraphs, we can't talk about this anymore. Delphi's done for us. I've
All they
heard
care
that.
about is closing a case, whether it was solved or not. That
Right.
is why she doesn't care. If you care about it getting solved, you would care about all of these questions that remain unanswered. And the fact,
Well,
if anybody doesn't care about those questions, that
mhm.
is telling.
It is telling, and it's not journalistic. It's just not.
Right.
I mean, it's simply not. What you are is a mouthpiece for the state.
Yeah.
And the thing is that if they want to,
You're
if
supposed to report on people in positions of power, not report for them. And that is all they do. It irritates the shit out of me.
oh, listen, but I think one day, much like I want everybody to look up Jason Blair,
Right.
Jayso, because here's why. Jason Blair was he got his ass shit canned, and there's a lot of blame to go around at the New York Times for not checking his ass sooner. But he, for years, spun a tale on everything that he wrote, making up fake Iraqi war veterans, lying about the DC sniper case, all of these things that was just egregious, and egregious from two perspectives, a journalistic perspective, but journalism does right, supports and defends the rule of law and of transparency. What he did was violate two very fundamental things that the fourth estate is supposed to do. And the reason I point this out, and I will harp on it, and I'll make the analog to what I think is going to happen to Kevin and Anya's book, is that the New York Times, 10 years after that episode, 10 years after, was still mea culpaing and going back and providing more information and providing, and maybe people will come across this in their journalism classes someday, but they use it as an example in the academic literature. He is used as an example
Yeah, I
of
posted a link to it the other day, Society of Professional Journalists. Because when I looked him up, that was one of the first things that came up. Like he is a whole section of like they dedicated a whole thing to his
oh
dumb
yeah,
shit and all the
yeah,
shit he's done. I'm
yep.
curious to know if if there's any crossover with Greeno's origin story as an Iraqi war veteran. Because Greeno is the only other person in this space that has anything. Greeno told people he was an
Oh
Iraqi war
God.
veteran. Like, but
Okay,
that's
no.
like when I
Yep.
hear like that he did this, and then I realize the only
Mhm.
other people I know of who do stuff like that is Greeno. It's beyond parody
Well,
at this point.
I am happy to say though I don't really know who Greeno. I mean,
Oh,
I've heard
he's
tell
an
the
Iraqi
no, no,
war
oh
veteran,
no, no,
a
no, no, no,
wheelchair
no. I don't want to
basketball
know.
coach, a
I don't
helium
want to
bead
know. No,
manufacturer.
no. I don't want to know. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Hang on a second.
he's a whole other mess. That boy ain't
Let's
right.
see. I know, but okay. Just got here. Do you think recent attacks on free speech will silence people who speak out against silence people who speak out against Rick's innocence? No. What? I don't know if I understand this, sir. JD.
And do you think recent attacks on free speech will silence people who speak out again? I think he's probably asking more about like I think one of the reasons I started like the first video I ever did shit
This is an
talking
interesting question.
was
This is an
because
interesting question.
I could tell a lot of people were doing a lot of self-censoring because it was so
Mm,
stigmatized back then. This is like right after the PCA was unsealed. And
hmm
people asking extremely common sense, very normal, reasonable questions, the backlash against them, because at that point in time, I wasn't plugged in. I didn't really know anybody in this community. I was still of the belief at this time that they had the right guy, and we just didn't know, like, whatever they were sealing, that would, because I'm always like, okay, if something doesn't add up, it's because we don't have all the pieces. I was still naively thinking law enforcement surely had them because I had no familiarity with any of this or any of the players. So, but it still bothered me that I could tell people were self censoring because
hmm
they were treated as if they were defending a child murderer. And I'm like, this is not, even though I didn't think that he was innocent at that point, it still bothered me that people could not just openly ask honest questions or state, even if I didn't like their opinion, like I don't like a lot of people's opinion, but I don't, um, like I'm able to move on with my day just fine with them freely expressing it. Like I don't have to
Yeah.
stop what I'm
Yeah.
doing to silence
Yeah.
them before I can move. You know what I mean? Like, but
Yeah.
some people really do have to. There are attack like there's a lot of that going on right now. But
Mhm.
yeah, I do think there's some of that always in this case. But I do
Well,
think we've done a good job of who like good luck. I mean, I usually tell people that dumb shit doesn't work on me because one, it doesn't,
mhm.
and two, I'm like, next, like, okay,
Right. It's
sure.
like, yeah, yeah. And I
I'm like,
think
if
he
you think it's more
actually,
reasonable that I'm defending someone I know is guilty, then maybe I think he's innocent. And so, yeah, if I think he's innocent, I am going to like, if it makes more sense to you that I'm defending a known murderer, then I think he's innocent. And so I'm trying to fight for answers. Then you can't argue with people like that. They're not
yeah,
in reality.
right,
But yeah, it
right.
does. But that does work on some people who are just coming in and asking questions and then get met with the weirdos in this case who just like pile on to people
Well,
asking normal questions. Yeah, that will have some effect.
Well,
But
I want to follow up on this though, because he came back and reworded
oh,
it. He
okay.
said, sorry, I worded it wrong. And then I want to address this too, because I think that maybe there's not awareness about what's already happened to people who speak out in this case. Sorry, I worded it wrong. Do you feel people who defend and think Rick is innocent will be silenced out of fear given recent events? I think that I think that there's already been, well, I know that people have already been targeted and already been for years. So
If they
that's
haven't
been
been
going on.
silenced, there's attempts to discredit them, to smear them, to do all kinds, like to anything but to have a conversation with them.
Right,
Literally,
right.
they will do everything but have an honest conversation where they truly allow the person to say what they're actually arguing, because that
hmm
they don't have those conversations, because then that would take away from their years of telling people that we're out here just like doing team sports. Anya even said, like, even no matter what happens with him, even if we saw evidence, we would still defend him. That is
Right.
not true. All
Mm-mm.
we've been asking for is
No.
evidence. Like, you show us evidence that he's
I
involved, we will
look.
help them clear it all up. But we haven't seen it, and they continue not providing that to us. So, no, we're not going to just like entertain this notion because they've had plenty of time to provide that kind of information and to substantiate their claims at trial. But at trial, the only thing they proved is that they do not have anything to substantiate their innuendo circumstantial evidence. That isn't even what they said it was.
hmm
And they had to walk some of it back. So, no, I'm not going to entertain it. But you're not going to run around and tell people that I'm denying evidence because, no, you're not even characterizing the evidence correctly. Like, and I'm characterizing it based on the record. They're the ones
Right.
who aren't. And so I try to be relentless about that kind of shit because not everybody's in a position like I am where I genuinely don't care if someone like I don't, if I'm not your cup of tea, that's fine. Like,
Well, I think he was
some
he.
people
I
get
think you. I
rattled
think
by it.
Well, yeah. And I honestly think that it was an honest question. I
I do
mean, and I
too.
think it's a
I didn't
fair
think
question.
I
Yeah,
didn't I
totally.
didn't mean to insinuate
Mm-mm.
that I
No.
I do
Mm-mm.
agree, but yeah, there are definitely like we have a lot of examples of the state
Yeah.
doing that. I don't know if they
Yeah.
were successful in all of their attempts, but we have very clear evidence of very targeted attempts to silence people. And when one thing wouldn't work, they would move on to trying to discredit them. If that wouldn't work, they would move on to trying to smear them even worse. Like yes, I do think that is a real thing in this case. It's ridiculous because all we
Yeah.
should all be on the same page about just wanting real answers. And the
Yeah.
fact that there's all this other stuff that has like splintered into other just dumb shit, it's
I
because they won't just like all we're doing is asking questions. If the second we get those, this all goes away because that's all
right.
anybody wants is real answers.
Well, and I think I want to follow up here too, is that I think that the question is a good one. And I just want to circle back because this is like my area and increasingly all eyes this area of expertise is that there is a point where journalists and people, and I think that we need to reorganize our way of thinking about it, because you make a good point about the attacks on free speech. They're real, they're ongoing, and I think that people like me who have done an entire career of this shit, who I'm used to being in those crosshairs. I mean, I haven't been as much recently, but literal crosshairs in some instances. And I think that you know I think that there's a difference between corporate media, which I think is what we're seeing, and I think that this is an amazing opportunity for people to get involved with their local journalists and to look into what journalists actually do versus what Twitter does. Twitter is not journalism. My Twitter feed is not a news report. Do I post interesting news about my cat? You bet your ass. Do I post interesting updates about this case? Every once in a while. Do I mostly just shit post? You bet. I haven't. So I think that there's free speech, and then there's people speaking out about anything having to do with rule of law and justice being done and being seen to be done. I think that there's always those threats. I've known it. I've seen it. I've had, I've said this before and I'll keep fucking saying it. Friend of mine is in exile from Belarus right now because he cannot go back to his country. My friend Sally, Beirut, she was at the West Bank and got her ass. I mean, she luckily got out of there. Miriam, this amazing photographer on the ground. People are getting blown off the map to tell the truth of what's happening on the ground or to expose something, no matter where they are in the world. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's a very, very Western mindset
Yeah.
um, that somehow we are in this country excluded from any sort of violence or backlash to free speech. We have always been in the crosshairs, people in the press, more so since 2015. And I'm not going to get into all that bullshit. But I think that there's going to always be people that speak out. I think that there's always going now though, I think we're moving to a different model of decentralized local journalism and what that means. And I think that's, I think that it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, people losing jobs and things like that. Well, there are some things that are more important than it's a luxury. It's a luxury that's the only thing that some people have on the line. And so
Mm-hmm.
for me, as a white woman from the global north who has privilege, I tried over my career, I've tried to place myself in positions where, for better or worse, that provided me some comfort or some cover, and use that in a decent way. But I think that, but I so I don't think the attacks on free speech are anything new. I think that the capitulation is new. The
Yeah.
capitulation by corporate media is new.
Well, right now it's like
ABC,
I mean, yeah,
CBS,
it's like a level
yeah,
of like, okay, everybody, you can keep having your disagreements with each other. You don't have it, but like everybody should be at this point, like it has gotten to a level of maniacal and like diabolical. Like it is,
Mhm.
it's just it is not new, but it is definitely a worse degree of it.
Yes. Well, but I think, but again, I mean,
Like
I'm
it,
not
that
the,
part is new, like where it's
that
like
part is new
at the
to a lot
level it
of
is,
people.
and like the
Yeah.
how there is just like,
Hmm.
I mean, and the conflation, like there's like
Hmm.
people are creating cartoonish depictions of the other side to a point of like, I mean, I think everybody, I'm pretty clear about how I feel about all kinds of
Hmm.
sides.
Hmm.
Like, sometimes I get frustrated because like I'm obviously a big old leftist, but I come from a very evangelical family. They're all
Hmm.
conservatives. We all still genuinely like, love, and respect each other. It does not, like, they're not worried about my leftist ideology in indoctrinating their kids, and I'm not, like, vice versa. Like, so like it's like a cartoonish version online when people are discussing it, and it just is not real life. It's just
Right.
not. But there's just a level of like, you just gotta hope that people who even politically might have disagreements with me, I would hope that when they see those cartoonish depictions online, they can be like, okay, all eyes is, like I'm a mom, like I live a very traditional life. I just, I think people should have health care based on their diagnosis, not their income. I believe in due process. Like, I actually think there's more agreement between people than they realize. But like the free speech thing and the level it's getting to, I
Hmm.
see a lot of parallels between what I've experienced in this case, like the fact that I've been called
Yeah.
a child
Yeah.
murderer defender. Well, now online, I'm being called, like, according to the president, I'm part of a terrorist organization,
Right.
even
Right.
though I'm obviously not. Like, it is a
Right.
movement. Like, I am aware that there are more extreme sides of it, but I don't expect every conservative I've ever met to answer for all of the people self-identifying as like
Right.
the way it's gotten it. I feel like more people are getting a taste of it because it is,
Yeah. Yeah.
because of everything that's happened in recent weeks. It's brought
Hmm.
everybody's attention. But like the thing that makes me so nervous about it is like if you criticize Charlie Kirk, you can get fired. Like, and people are
Well,
justifying it
yeah.
versus
But the thing is, and that's where I say I
like in
put
this
this on
thing,
the
like if
corporate media.
you say
But
one thing in this case, even though, but you still become a target. So like there's a
right.
level of it
Yeah.
happening on a
Yeah.
macro level, but it
Yeah.
also happens in these small town cases too. Like it is the same dynamic, and it always ends up going against people who do not have the standing or backing
Right.
to fight back. Like it is an asymmetrical thing on both levels, and that's what frustrates me. Like I don't care if someone has different beliefs, like I can have a conversation with anybody. Like I do get mouthy sometimes because I think that's more Texan, like the Texan in me, not the leftist in me. I do think that's a
Hmm.
Texan thing, but
Hmm.
like it I would never in a million years even consider like this person has to be silenced, but I'm always accused of being part of a movement that does, when that's not true. It is always the people in power doing it against people who are not. And really,
And
it
that's
just
what
has
we're
to get to a
seeing.
point where we're all just ask real questions and demand real answers. And if
Yeah.
you don't get it, regardless of, like, at the end of the day, I'm going to go with where the facts are. That's where my bias is, or what the facts show that we can all look at and agree on. This is a fact. This is where we got it from. We can all point to it. And I don't care what political side you come from, I will stand on the side of where the facts land. And that's just how I think that's probably just because I am in Texas. I don't live, I'm not from Austin or one of the big, like liberal cities. I am
Hmm.
not in any, I don't live in an area like that. So like, I don't know how I could be considered indoctrinated by these things because there's nothing like that around me. But it
Hmm.
is funny because that is also part of the reason why I think um, I have become so invested in this other small county because it is familiar to me, like the dynamics of
Hmm.
how things are talked about. And people do not like to deal with these kinds of things in a small town
Hmm.
because it does, like, in the same way that with my family, like, we're at odds sometimes, but like, nobody is going to be like, there's not a criminal aspect. So it's not like somebody's going to jail. But in this aspect, when you're talking about an actual case, these people, if you do tell the truth, some people that you are, even if you disagree with them, you might be fond of them, they're going to face consequences. And so people have different, like they're fighting different battles when you're talking about a small town case. But that is why there's so much resistance, I think. And it's because we just have to be, that is sometimes too why, like, even if I don't agree, like I didn't celebrate Kirk's death, but like I'm not going to clutch my pearls over people celebrating it because even hate speech actually is protected. Like even the ACLU defended actual Nazis
Yeah.
because even though they don't agree with
Right.
it, you still have to protect hate speech or else all speech goes. Like just on a
Right.
principled level, like I try to stay in there where like I usually, because I am so mouthy, I usually participate in more of the desensitizing of people clutching their pearls because I'm like,
Mhm.
you know what? No, like you have to exercise it and people have to learn to live with it. That is more preferable to me than crackdowns.
Yeah. And well, and the thing is too, it's like
But if it's
it
happening, oh, my point, sorry, the last thing I'll say, and then I'll actually shut up. The point I was making though is like, it's hard to get people to care about it happening on a small town level
yeah.
when people are on a national level justifying it because they're still in like a state of grief. Like some people actually are saddened, like genuinely saddened.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I didn't celebrate his death, but I don't
Mhm.
miss the guy. Like I was not fond of him. So like I feel for
I
like
didn't know.
on a
Yeah.
human level,
Mhm.
I feel the
I feel
sadness for his
terrible for the
family,
children.
and I
Yes.
do not think it's
Yes.
appropriate to literally silence. Like you cannot just assassinate someone you just like. That is so.
No.
It's a level of crazy. I don't know how anybody thinks that like
Mm-mm.
most leftists are actually very opposed to it. We're opposed to cancel culture, all this stuff, but most people think we're just like liberal. Like they don't know there's a different like liberals. I think sometimes hate us more than the
Probably.
conservatives
Yeah.
generally, not always, but like in some cases, but still like there's all these nuances. But when it's happening on a national level and nobody wants to clear these things up or be nuanced, how do you get people to care about like a small town injustice? Because there's bigger things going on. And I deal with that a lot because
Mhm.
like I don't know how to help that. But if they're getting away with
Well,
it on a national level, how are we supposed to hold a small town person? Because who are they going to kick it up to? Somebody higher above them who's also doing these same things? That is my area of frustration right now is there's nobody higher to appeal to because the people higher to them are part of it on an even bigger level. Like
right.
it's frustrating to me. I still don't, it's not going to deter me, obviously. I think it'd be great if I could even find a thing that would deter me. But
Well, and
I don't think that exists.
right. And I think the thing is that, I think that so to me, I think it's there's been political violence and assassinations, 2 months before that. I was in Minnesota visiting my daughter when two DFL, which is Democratic Farmer and Labor,
Right.
uh, uh, were murdered brutally in the middle of the night in front of their child, and another pair were shot by an insane politically motivated assassination. And so the thing is that, but when we talk about free speech, so I want to bring it back to that. When
Yeah.
you talk about it and how it affects people, I think that again, this is I really don't have an opinion about. I have an opinion about corporate media capitulating for monopolies. I have an
Right.
opinion about that because that is problematic to the rule of law. And I've quoted some old ass English law lords, but the standard is that justice must be done, but it must be seen to be done as well. And so the scene to be done is where I feel like journalists and local reporters, beat reporters, crime reporters, whatever you do to report locally, whatever, that's where they step into the scene being done. And that's why you're so frustrated, I think, and why people get so frustrated in general is that, access to more information is never bad, and especially when you confine it to the very, very fundamental freedoms that America purportedly stood for, including freedom of speech and the ability to not be murdered for saying whatever the hell you want, whatever the hell you want, no matter how abhorrent it may be to one side or another. But the justice must be seen to be done, has to come from people that are on the ground and willing to report and willing to have these conversations with small town clerks, because that's where the democracy really hits the road, and that's where local journalism really needs to be brought back into the fabric of the community, because it's there's just nothing but news deserts. So this has been happening for a very long time. I don't think that it's going to impact people that have certainly, I think it's going to inspire, it could potentially inspire new journalists or new people that want to do reporting. I don't give a shit if you report about sports or whatever you report about, it doesn't matter. The more information, the ethics and integrity of how we gather information and then distribute it to the public, that is actually the work, right? And that is the work of a functioning democracy. And it's important for people to remember that. And when we don't see it happening in these, and I'm from a small ass place too, real small. I grew up on a farm. It's so fucking small, right? So so it does blow my mind to see what's kind of happening in this instance. But they have this same, it's the same thing. It's a lack of access to information unless you go and seek it out, because there are no news outlets anymore. There used to be a paper in my town, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there were 800 people in the nearest town to me. Not even 800. It depends on who dropped dead at the old folks home that day. There could have been 799.
Mhm.
But my point is that, when it comes to free speech and freedom of the press, they're intertwined in such a way where I have no choice but to condemn what happened to Mr. Kirk, right? I have no choice but to condemn full-throatedly what happened to Melissa Hortzman and her husband in her home in the middle of the night. And what has to be pushed back on here is the corporate media of it all, and the thumb on the scale of the full force and weight of the federal government, or of the state government, or of the county government. So if we start small, that's where this thing, I think, has a chance. And I
Yeah.
think that it may not feel like a lot, but
Well, the thing
it
is,
is
like,
a lot.
if you give people more information, you are going to make them more informed. And more informed people would, like, there's sometimes where law enforcement, just like governments or officials, like, they have to make decisions that are not everybody will agree with,
Right.
but
Yeah.
if people understand, like, okay, well, what would you have done if you're in this diplomatic relationship? Like, what would you have chosen if these were the things you were facing? The thing is, sometimes they hide those things that they were facing because they're afraid that someone will not think that justifies their decision. But the thing is, that should be up for debate as a society. We should be discussing all of those things so that, like, some people will agree with you, though. That's the thing, though. Like, the more people have more information, the more informed people are actually discussing this, as opposed to a bunch of people who are just like picking sides and, like, well, my side says they represent this, so we're, like, they're just choosing based on who's claiming things, as opposed to, like, proceeding based on the actual information. But because on every level of government there's there's a problem with, they classify things that shouldn't be classified. And then you've got local areas where people are not accustomed to regularly filing requests or seeking out information. And so these officials are not accustomed to having to
Yeah.
answer for things. And they tend to, just out of self-preservation, hike back because they might get some pushback. Like, we've got to change the dynamics on local levels. But the whole point is, people should have more information because it makes more people more reasonable.
Right.
And they even have things like, if you don't have a shared reality to disagree on, the disagreements are going to be, they're going to get partisan and hacky and just
And
really
murder sheet.
emotionally and whatever.
Well,
But the
and
murder sheet
murder
is a great
sheet.
example of
Oh
that,
my God.
because
I
they've
think that,
turned it
yeah.
into almost like its own culture war. And
Hmm.
it drives, I hate culture war stuff anyway, but, like, when it's something like this, like, and it affects very real people, it makes me angry because it's just so petty and it's counterproductive and it's just gross. And the fact that
Yeah.
they do it and they're not even, like, I don't know if they're missing that brain function that tells the rest of us when to feel shame so that we can alter our behavior. I don't know
Hmm.
if they just don't have that brain function, or if I don't understand them. Like, I really don't. Like, they make me so angry. But even when I'm angry, I try to understand, because I'm like, okay, even people who I think are shit people, like, in their minds, that is what they think is right, even if it's warped. Like, I at least try to understand where they're coming from, because sometimes it's the only way you can at least
But
diffuse a situation. But like with them, there's no explanation. They're just
well, and I think, and again,
shitbags.
we had an hour, and now we're at 2.
Oh God,
So,
yeah.
but I want to say just this is that here's what I do know is that the only people that have no excuse are the people that are bound by
Yeah.
law to provide information. And that's what people need to remember. It's not about what you or I think. It's not about what anybody in the chat thinks, even though chat, be nice to everybody, have whatever. But what it is about is that putting the onus on the people in positions of power.
Yes.
So this is a wag the dog
That should be one thing
situation.
we can all agree on, by the way.
I don't know why not, but here we are. But in this case, it is Nick McClellan. It's the state of Indiana, and the thing is that the longer this kind of bullshit goes on, and the more we might see, and hopefully people are more attenuated to it when it happens in their own communities, because it happens everywhere. This is the system, and so it's pushing back on the system of having the defendant prove themselves innocent. That's not how this works. And so
Yeah.
but that's my thing, is that the only people that I feel have no excuse and will never have any excuse are those people in positions of power who are regulated by the
Yeah.
law, whether it's local, state, whatever it is, to provide people with information and to be on our they're on our tax they are on our dime, and they
Well,
need to be
I mean, there's
reminded of
public
that
access
all the
laws.
time.
They're
Yeah,
supposed to
I
be in
know.
compliance with them. They have
I
them
know.
because it is their like we are not
Mhm.
bound by like if somebody gives me information, I am not bound by withholding information according to public access laws. I,
Mhm.
like these laws are for public officials, not for people. And the fact that they are not even abiding by them, they don't then get to turn around and complain when other people are not following their own policies that they don't even follow. But like people need
Mhm.
to remember, like when we are requesting this information, we're doing it because they are supposed to provide it in accordance with the law. Especially they don't if they can't like most of the public access laws are super easy to comply with. They're not difficult to comply with. It is a matter
No,
of
it's
searching for a file on a computer and providing it. And the fact that they do all of this stuff and then they'll go do interviews and go to CrimeCon and do all of this stuff when an email that took them 30 seconds to send would have been sufficient is
mhm.
crazy to me. But people need
Mhm.
to, like dig into those public access laws, whatever your state is, and hold
Mhm.
them to it because
Yeah.
they are the ones with the burdens of office, not the
Yeah.
defense, not us, not journalists do not have burdens of office. Their job is to be our surrogates, most cases, but you don't have to wait for journalists to do it. Like you can
Hell
do it
no.
as a member of society yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hell yes. I mean, and another thing, look, I have watched so much public access video of city council
I
meetings, and I have, because the
know.
thing is that that's another thing. It's boring as hell, but man, oh
Hmm.
man, do you find some information? Do you figure out how
True.
shit works? And what I can tell you is that shit is not working in Carroll County, and I think that you know. That plays itself out all too often across every small community. Maybe not to this degree, maybe not in this fashion with this particular case, of a murder case, but people need to try to, try to slide into the defense seat for 1 second in whatever case that may be, and try to position yourself like, oh my God, I really didn't do whatever it is, whether it's stealing, I don't know, Mentos gum. Not that
Yeah.
anybody would ever steal Mentos gum. I've never stolen Mentos gum. What are you saying, All Eyes? You accusing me of stealing?
Yeah.
But I'm saying but I think that's the only thing, is that the only people that are accountable are those people in positions of power, and certainly people that represent themselves to be presenting facts to the public.
Hmm.
So in that degree, I think that journalists that actually work in journalism and actually do reporting versus color commentary or opinion, they need to be very clear about about what they do. And so that's, that's really it. But it starts and ends with the state and the power of the state. And so that's where everybody should direct their emails,
Yeah, I'll do one recap now that I realize how long I've been ranting. I always do that. I have no concepts of time, but I'm going to do one recap for people who are here now that weren't here earlier. The motion to compel exhibits were apparently appellate counsel does not have their exhibits. And in the 24 hours of them filing that, I had already been in communication with the Carroll County clerk about trial exhibits that nobody has received. And as of now, where it stands, it appears that the clerk does not have some of the trial exhibits in addition to whatever the appellate counsel did not get. There is that is where this started, and I know we went way off tangent with the other stuff because there are so many other things in this case where we have had difficulty getting access to information that should be available. Things, even with the judge, she had to release 118 filings that were filed as confidential, even though they should not have been in the first place, but were. And even after that, there was an original action filed, because even after doing that, there were still filings that should not have been confidential that were still confidential. And even after the Supreme Court ordered her to fix that, she only fixed 20% of it, didn't even cure all of it. And so now defense has been in a position where they are now trying to figure out, okay, I walked this into a courthouse to deliver this to the clerk, and now members of the public are requesting these things that should be with, I'm sorry, he hand delivered it to the court reporter.
Yes.
And so now the court reporter we have on the docket, it says that this has been filed and completed and it should be in the possession of the clerk. But when members of the public try to access it, they're being told that they do not have it. So that's kind of, even though we did go way outside of it,
Yeah.
other related issues, which is my bad. I at least want to recap at the very end why we're even going on rants, because part of all of tracking these things down has led to so many other issues that we've discovered along the way.
Yeah.
It's maddening.
And I just want to say too, I'm going to go back and I'll put a timestamp in here for people. I don't want any more politics in this timeline, folks. I don't want anybody stepping up for anybody else. Yeah. And I know we went there. Everything is politics, unfortunately. But I think that in order to talk about this one particular filing, I don't give a shit what your politics are. I really don't. It's just about what's on the page, what exists and what doesn't, and why is that.
For me, it's the power dynamics that I'll talk that all day, because whether it is on this local level in this little small town or it is on the whatever, like, yes, they are the same, but like in this instance, like, I am interested in the power dynamics of this man. And even when he is getting very straightforward requests, he's going out of his way to respond with, how dare you, in his response, which is not his place. And how dare you, sir, imply that she was asking something she didn't say or imply. Like, that is what we're up against when we are just trying to get basic information. So like, maybe instead of politics, we can talk power structures, because that's usually that. I think everybody can get on board with that.
Yeah, but that's what it is. It is the power structure, right? Yeah.
Like, so at this point, we're trying to like push through to get past all of these roadblocks that we are still, at this point, we're just auditing which roadblocks are still there that need to be dealt with. I hope appellate counsel has better luck than trial counsel did, but I'm not hopeful in some aspects. I am hopeful. I'm just not holding my breath.
Right. Don't hold your breath, because then you'll die, and we can't have that. So because but yeah, so it did go off the rails, but I think that was good. And that's my interview.
I'd be ranting sometimes. I'm very sorry.
No, don't be sorry. First of all, and that's another thing. People need to stop apologizing for being loud. I'm
not sorry for being loud. I just meant for like going off topic. Sometimes it's difficult, Like, I don't know if it's the ADHD thing or just like I get so
I don't know, man.
But I meant for like derailing the trying to stay on task. It's hard for me when it comes to this case, because it's all compounded.
It's a shit show. I mean,
I haven't mastered it yet on staying like one thing at a time. It's very difficult for me.
Neither have I. Let's get real clear here. This stream is not one of absolute clarity, but I think we did good for about 30 minutes, so I think
Yeah,
that's
probably so.
fine.
Well, still, I think it'll be easier to stay on topic when we get the final, the last thing she said to me was, I looked through the binders, through the flash drives, through the documents, and I didn't see it. So the last thing she
Yeah.
said after that was, I will go back tomorrow or Monday to verify that. So
Mm-hmm.
once it's verified
Mm-hmm.
and not so much as a, maybe she just overlooked it, like right now I have all these like, okay, it could be there and she just missed it. Once we have a more for certain,
Mm-hmm.
it will probably be easier to stay on task because we will have something to stay on task with. But right now it is still up in the air. But it is good, I think, to at least let people know where it stands and why we are so interested because of all of the other things that maybe this does fill in gaps with, maybe not. But that's what we're trying to figure out is, does
Mm-hmm.
this answer a question of this or not? Is this
Right.
something that needs to be corrected in addition to the other stuff we found or not? So that's kind of where it is. It's
Yeah.
hard to be too on task when you are still trying to find answers that are being withheld.
Yeah, and I think that, it's like I told you, I'm hoping that I can follow up and get some more information, but, as I said at the beginning, the only thing that I got was what was supported in the exhibits that Trial Junkie alerted me to, is that Mr. Baldwin did actually walk those exhibits over there. So I think it's just a matter of, and he confirmed that to me just in a simple text, but yeah, so
I
let's
guess
do
we'll all
this.
wait to hear back from Gull since she's the last one who saw them.
Apparently, maybe she took them home,
Maybe
and
so.
is
Maybe
since,
they're in her
maybe she's
closet.
finally started reading them. Maybe, I don't know. But but yeah, so I mean, that's it, everybody. Thank you for all this shit. And as you know,